Textual worlds interface with their audiences by the degree to which they acknowledge individuality and the tangible struggles of their inhabitants. From the moment of its conception in the wake of the Second World War, George Orwell's 1984 has been revered as one of the most influential English-language texts of all time, transcribed by a resolute author who dared to detail the peril of a totalitarian future at a time when the regimes of Stalin and Hitler stood so close to dominating the present. Central to Orwell's vision of the future is the plight of the individual under the omnipotent state. For all the time spent chronicling Oceania's senseless struggle against her equally oppressive foes, or the soul-crushing drudgery of life under Ingsoc, the true horror of 1984 is exemplified by the war of annihilation waged by the inner party on the very concept of personhood. How exactly tomorrow's totalitarians intend to fight and win their war on the individual is Orwell's central concern, a matter intended for the reader he endeavors to resolve from the perspective of his everyman protagonist, the titular Winston Smith. Nothing was your own except the few cubic centimeters inside your skull, Winston relates to us, his co-conspirators, through metaphor. In opposition to the boundless state, Orwell doesn't imagine a new man so much as he presents us with the last one. In essence, Winston Smith is an ideological soul survivor, a trace element of autonomous humanity the state has proven unable to scrape off its jackboot, an amalgamation of the most pedestrian, reliably unremarkable parts of each and every one of us. Winston Smith is the mundane shortcomings and unvoiced urges that makes humanity so perfectly, frustratingly human. His journey is a flight between endangered interiorities, both real and metaphysical, doomed to be breached and cleared by the agents of English socialism. By placing Winston in an unremarkable corner of his cell-like flat at the novel's outset, Orwell instantly demystifies dissent. The last egalitarian in Oceania is a browbeaten nobody who initiates his result not by setting a bomb, but by simply planting himself out of view and reciting what he alone knows to be true. Freedom is the freedom to say 2 + 2 makes 4. If that is granted, all else follows. From the collection of brief vignettes of hope and opprobrium concerning Winston and his diary the reader is treated to in the early stages of the novel, 1984 advances only to catalogue the means by which the state pursues, isolates, and meticulously purges all that is human from him. We control life, Winston, at all its levels. You are imagining that there is something called human nature, which will be outraged by what we do and will turn against us. But we create human nature. Men are infinitely malleable. In Oceania, everything is within close reach of the party, as everything is within the party. Only the debased and utterly inferior, the proles and animals, respectively, are free. There is no single aspect of life that is not subject to change or erasure. Newspeak streamlines the erosion of nuanced expression, while the telescreen acts as Big Brother's eyes and ears, watching over homes, workplaces, and mess halls. Winston navigates this paranoid world in search of an escape route, a way out from under the leviathan of English socialism. Here, Orwell shines light on a pivotal link between our own subversive inclinations and the aims of his protagonist. Under any system, real or imagined, liberal or impossibly totalitarian, Orwell asserts that humans will want and writhe, constantly imagining alternatives and looking for exits. In the face of dissent, the inner party need simply exert its own strength, capitalizing on their stranglehold on public life, the means of expression, and increasingly the private thoughts of the outer party, for humanity to remain in bondage, unaware of any other competing autonomous mode of living. History has stopped. Nothing exists except an endless present in which the party is always right. With the bulk of pre-revolution human achievement liquidated, Ingsoc is left theoretically without an off switch. Time and time again, Orwell states that by erasing history and controlling thought and language, the possibility of an individual even beginning to conceive of a time without the party would shrink with every new, hopelessly indoctrinated generation. He who controls the past controls the future. He who controls the present controls the past, O'Brien tells Winston in Room 101. Here, restrained and bathed in cruel, pale light, Winston's struggle with the state reaches its seemingly inevitable conclusion. A perfect, personalized act of torture is laid out before him, a hideous demise at the fangs and claws of squealing, starving vermin. To avoid this fate, he need only betray and doom the last remaining human he loves, Julia. In a world of deceit, mindless drudgery, and endless suffering, our connections are all that we have left. To Orwell, humanity's fate is sealed when his last man, upon being confronted with the choice between bloody sacrifice and self-interest, damns love and condemns the last woman. At the novel's end, our lovers meet once again, reduced to little more than soulless autonoma by their experiences in the aptly named Ministry of Love. Winston at first simply deludes himself, hoping that Oceania will lose control of the equatorial front and collapse in the wake of proletarian revolution. What's left of Julia rebuffs him and disappears. Oceania breaks the Eurasian advance. Winston confesses his love for Big Brother, allowing the regime to finally occupy the deepest recesses of his mind. In 1984's final vignette, Orwell deposits us in the throes of his nightmare, confused, dismayed, and with nothing to celebrate lest mourn. Winston and Julia never knew each other or even existed. The rats were on them the moment they laid eyes on one another. Nothing human makes it out of the near future. The exact same maxim is scrawled across another pillar of dystopianism, Ridley Scott's Blade Runner. The eponymous LAPD unit functions similar to the jackbooted thought police of Oceania, hunting down those who simply wish to be human. The heresy of the more human than human replicants resembles Winston's rebellion in this regard, with both figures wanting only to be able to feel and live freely. Both works arrive at the same conclusion. Once humanity has unmade itself, and our great works are crushed under the weight of the state, the corporation, and our own indifference to the abuse around us, there is simply no going back, no future, no past, nothing except everything under the state. Nothing human makes it out.